You're standing at the edge of Shackleton Crater, near the lunar south pole, and the silence is so complete it has a texture. It presses on you. Behind you and low over the horizon, Earth hangs in a black sky. Not the way the moon looks from your backyard, small and casual, but a fat blue and white marble sitting perfectly still, exactly where it was 6 hours ago, exactly where it'll be 6 hours from now. On the moon, from any one spot, Earth doesn't rise or set. It just hangs there, and you can't stop looking at it. Your boots crunch on regolith that has never felt rain, never known wind, never been touched by anything but sunlight and micrometeorites for 4 billion years. Your oxygen readout says you've been out for 6 hours. 14 more in the tank before you have to be back inside. You've been on the moon for 41 days now, and the strangeness hasn't dulled. If anything, it's gotten sharper. An hour ago, you were asleep. The habitat is small, smaller than anything they'd send to Mars because the moon is close enough that early bases are built for weeks, not years. Curved walls, everything within arm's reach, the constant white noise of the air scrubbers. You woke to that noise and to the window, and the window had Earth in it, the way it always does. There's something about opening your eyes on another world and seeing home framed in glass. You can cover it with your thumb. Everyone you've ever loved, everyone who has ever lived, under your thumb. Suiting up here is its own ritual, and the low gravity makes it strange. On Earth, the suit weighs a crushing amount. Here it weighs a sixth of that. The moon pulls at only about 16% of Earth's gravity, less than half of what Mars would give you. So the hard upper torso that would pin you to the floor at home lifts almost gently, and you duck up into it, and your body keeps wanting to overcorrect. Thermal layer, pressure garment, the torso, gloves twisted and locked and checked, then the helmet, and the world goes quiet except for the fan and your own breathing. You run the pressure check against a vacuum more severe than anything on Mars. The moon has essentially no atmosphere at all. Not thin air, nothing. A hard vacuum pressing on every seal. Green. You cycle the lock. The pump pulls the air back to save it, the sound thinning to nothing. And the door opens onto gray. And then you're outside. And the first steps are always a negotiation. In 1/6 gravity, you don't walk, you don't even lope the way you would on Mars. You develop a kind of loping shuffle, a bounce that the Apollo crews figured out the hard way. Aldrin and the others found that running turned into a floating gait, both feet leaving the ground. And that stopping took planning, because momentum doesn't care how light you feel. You feel like you weigh nothing. You do not stop like you weigh nothing. So you learn to think 3 steps ahead, to plant and pivot with a precision your Earth body never needed. The landscape is gray on gray on gray, and it's the shadows that undo you. There's no atmosphere to scatter light, so the sky is black even now in full sunlight. No blue, no haze, no softening of anything. The sun is a searing white point, and everything it touches is brilliant, and everything it doesn't touch is pure black. The shadow of a boulder isn't dim, it's a hole. The edge between light and dark is a knife. You've caught yourself more than once about to step into a shadow you couldn't see the bottom of, and had to remind yourself it was just ground. Ordinary ground, only unlit. Your task today is the ice. This is why the base is here, at the pole, and not somewhere with a better view. Because inside the permanently shadowed floors of these polar craters, in regions the sun has literally never reached, there is water ice. Real deposits confirmed. This is the whole game. Water is drinking water is breathable oxygen, water split apart is hydrogen and oxygen for rocket propellant. It's why Artemis is coming here. Why the plans all point at this exact gray nowhere. So you're running a drill core near the rim, sampling the regolith for the concentration of ice mixed into it, and the temperatures you're working across are almost impossible to hold in your head. In the sunlight where you stand, your suit exterior reads over 100 degrees Celsius. 2 meters away in the shadow of the crater wall, the same instrument would read 170 below zero. Not over the course of a day. Right now, side by side, a temperature difference of nearly 300 degrees across the length of your own body. Equipment hates this. The drill's lubricants behave one way in the light and another in the cold, and metal that's baking on the sunward side is contracting hard on the shadowed side. And you have to move deliberately. Keep the mechanism from binding. And the The dust is the quiet villain of everything here. Lunar regolith isn't like Mars dust. Mars at least had wind and water once to round its grains down. The moon never did. This dust is jagged, microscopically sharp, shattered glass and rock ground fine by billions of years of impacts and never smoothed by anything. It's electrostatically charged, so it clings to your visor, your gloves, the drill housing, the seals. The Apollo crews came back with it embedded in everything, complained it smelled like spent gunpowder once they got it back in the cabin, found it wearing through the outer layers of their gloves after only 3 days of work. You watch it cling to the sample housing, and you're careful, so careful, around every seal, because this stuff is an abrasive that gets into joints and grinds them, and doesn't let go. Core is coming up clean, you say, and Houston answers you almost immediately. That's the thing that makes the moon so different from anywhere further out. The radio delay is 1 1/3 seconds each way. You speak, and a heartbeat later a voice from home answers. An actual back and forth, a real conversation with another human being. On Mars, a message takes anywhere from 3 to 22 minutes one way. You send words into the dark and wait half an hour to hear anything back. And it's not talking, it's just messages passing each other. Here you can talk, and it should make you feel close. Sometimes it does. Sometimes a familiar voice 1.5 seconds away is the warmest thing in the universe. And sometimes it makes the aloneness worse because you can hear them. They're right there, and there is still 250,000 miles of vacuum between you and the nearest other heartbeat. The sun barely moves. That's another thing nobody prepares you for. A full lunar day, sunrise to sunrise, is about 29.5 Earth days, which means roughly 2 weeks of continuous sunlight followed by 2 weeks of continuous night. So the sun doesn't arc across the sky in hours. It crawls, hanging at a low angle near the pole, sliding sideways so slowly you could work a whole shift and swear it hadn't moved. The shadows stretch and shift over days, not minutes. There's no morning and afternoon here. Not really. There's just the long, slow light. And the work you fit inside it. You straighten up from the drill and let yourself look. Really look, for the first time in an hour. And there's Earth. Africa is turned toward you, the whole continent, cloudless along the Sahara. And you find yourself thinking that someone you know is standing on it right now, going about an ordinary afternoon, and has no idea you're looking at them. The Apollo astronauts talked about this. How you can blot out the entire planet with a raised thumb, how it reorders something in you, how the borders you spent your whole life believing in simply aren't there when you look down. From here, it's one thing. One small, bright, impossibly fragile thing, alone in an enormous black. And you're the one out here looking back at it. You work the shift out. You move a sample cache from a sunlit staging point into shadow to keep it cold and stable, and crossing that line, stepping from 100 degrees above zero into 170 below in a single stride, is a thing your suit manages and your mind never quite gets used to. The suit's cooling fights the heat load on the bright side. In the shadow, the readouts drop so fast you feel the machinery of the suit change its tune. Temperature's falling off a cliff in here, you tell Houston. Couple more minutes and I'll pull back into the light. 1.5 seconds later. Copy that. Watch your extremities. Fatigue in this gravity is a strange animal. You're not carrying weight, so your legs don't ache the way they would on Earth or Mars, but the constant small corrections, the precision every movement demands, the concentration of never once being careless near a seal or a shadow or a drop-off that wears on you in a way that has no name yet. There's a stretch, late in the shift, where the radio's quiet and the work is done, and you're just standing on the rim waiting for a systems readout to clear. And the loneliness comes up out of nowhere, the way it does. Not dramatic. Just a plain, heavy fact. You are the only human being on this entire world. A whole planet-sized body of rock and dust and shadow, and one warm, breathing person on it. And that's you. And then the readout clears, green, and you have somewhere to put your attention again, and the feeling folds itself back down. That's the rhythm of it. The work holds you. The routine is the thing that keeps you steady when the size of where you are gets too big to look at directly. Near the pole, there's no clean sunset the way there'd be at the lunar equator, where the sun would drop to the horizon and vanish in a fast, sharp, atmosphere-free plunge. No glow, no lingering, just brilliant light. Then black. Then a sky suddenly crowded with stars that never twinkle because there's no air to make them shimmer. Here the light just leans and lengthens, the shadows crawling across the regolith. And eventually your shift clock, not the sky, tells you it's time to go in. The walk back is bounce and crunch and the sound of your own breathing close and steady in the helmet. At the lock, the pump reverses, pressure builds, and before the inner door you run decontamination, because the dust cannot come inside. It's abrasive. It's an irritant. It fouls everything, and the crews who breathed it complained for days. Then the suit comes off in reverse, and every piece is a small relief. The helmet, the gloves, the torso lifting away, and the recycled cabin air on your actual face feels like a luxury. Inside it's warm, pressurized, a shirt sleeve 21 degrees, and the window still has earth in it. Exactly where it was this morning, exactly where it'll be tomorrow. You eat. It's a rehydrated tray, and after all those hours in the suit, even the dull stuff tastes like something. You run the evening systems check. Power good, scrubbers good, the day's core samples logged and stowed. And then the messages, and here's the other gift of being this close. They come in steadily, no agonizing wait. A note from the science team, a data request, and one from home. Someone ordinary, saying something ordinary. You read it at the window with Earth hanging there, and you find the exact continent they're standing on, and you hold both things at once. The words in your hand and the whole world they came from, 1.5 million miles away. You log the day, ice concentration up on the last 3 cores, dust on the drill housing, flagged for cleaning. You note the temperature spread you worked across, and at the bottom, not because it's data, but because it happened, you write down that Africa was cloudless. Then the bunk and the window and Earth. Tomorrow will be almost exactly like today. The same slow light that barely moves, the same gray, the same careful dance around the shadows and the seals, the same drill, the same view. That's the truth of this place. It's routine. Careful, survivable routine wrapped around the single most extraordinary fact a human being has ever lived inside. Mars would be farther, lonelier, a half hour of silence between every word. The moon is stranger precisely because it's close. Home is right there. You can see it. You can cover it with your thumb, and you still can't touch it. Tomorrow you'll suit up and step back out onto a world that has never known weather, under a black sky, and Earth will be waiting in the window, right where you left it. And you'll go do it all again, because someone has to be the first to learn how, and right now, on this whole gray world, that someone is you. That's what 24 hours on the moon would actually be like.